Hello, Tux N Tails, Labradoodle puppy families, and all our Labradoodle puppy fans. This is the week 5 litter update video for these petite Australian Labradoodle puppies. Hi, I'm Claire from Van Isle Labradoodles, and today's video is going to be a little bit different. We're not going to do an individual update on each of the puppies. We're going to talk about the litter in general, and then we're going to talk a little bit about nutrition. And we're also going to talk a little bit about alone time and sleeping for your puppy. So these puppies don't all have their teeth yet. Mr. Blue Collar here does not have all of his teeth through. He still has just some nubs. Mr. Black Collar has a couple through, but not all of the rest. And Miss Silver Collar has quite a few of her teeth through. So despite that, they are chewing away. And that is because they're working on getting those teeth through. Now, is this unusual? No, not particularly given the size of the puppies. When you look up things on Google, it will tell you, oh, dogs get their puppy teeth in at such and such a week, and they get their adult teeth in at such and such a month. And while that's generally true across the board, it does vary from breed to breed and the size of the dog. So for instance, our other litter, the Tiramisu Labradoodle puppies, they're just a day older than these little petite Australian Labradoodle puppies are, but they all have their teeth, they have them all in, and they have had for more than a week now. And that's because they're bigger dogs. So their bodies are more mature. They've gone along and developed more than these little guys have yet. So these guys will get their teeth. There's nothing wrong with their teeth or anything. They're just a little slower in having them come through. So you will find that a few things like that make a difference in these two litters. These guys, you can see, are really active. They're really friendly. They're wanting to interact all the time. Oh, and I see that poor silver collar girl has some muck all over her. So this is from her food. She had a little slide through her bowl when she was eating her breakfast, and now it's all dried on her. Oh my goodness, we'll have to clean that up, won't we? You can see it's also on the back of her legs. That's a little bit clumsy. They are eating their solid food without any trouble, even though they don't have their teeth. We just made a few accommodations for them. So we use a different brand of food, a brand that is a little bit mushier, if you will, softer. It doesn't require any teeth. They don't have to tear it or rip it. They can just lap it up and swallow it. So it's all going well. They're eating quite nicely. The weaning process is under serious, in the serious part of the process now, because these guys are 5 weeks old, and that means that Mama Anise will be going home to her family in about a week. So this will be the last week that the puppies see their mom. You will see her at the puppy family visit on the weekend. And so they only get to go in and nurse with her, or she's only able to go in and nurse the puppies 3 times a day now for 2 minutes. So they're not really getting any nutrition from the milk bar. What they are getting, though, is lots of satisfaction. It's the comfort. Puppies would probably, some of them, nurse until they were a year old if they could. Lots of times when we have our older puppies here and we have a girl who's lactating, the puppies will actively try to nurse because it's just that comfort feeling that they enjoy. So that's one of the really good things about the donut bed that you're going to get in your puppy starter kit. This donut bed mimics lying up against mom, that whole process that the puppies go through when they're nursing. And it helps to give them comfort, it helps to soothe them, it helps to make them feel, oh yeah, okay, I remember that good feeling. So it's really important, and it also helps them sleep better because they have that good feeling of, oh, this is what I remember when I was cozied up to Mama Anise. So what are these puppies eating? Well, they are, of course, being weaned to 100% raw diet. And why do we do that? And is it safe? Is it safe for the puppies? Is it safe for people? Well, clearly it's safe for the puppies. We've been feeding raw food. I started feeding raw food in 1981. That was long before much was known about raw food, and I can tell you now, if you brought me the product that I was feeding then, I go, oh my goodness, no, 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 that's terrible. It's completely unbalanced, and it's not going to meet all of your dog's needs. And truly, it didn't. However, it was what was available at the time. And canine nutrition is a subject that's ever evolving. Things change very quickly in the field. Previously, people didn't pay much attention to what their dogs ate. There was a bag of kibble, there was a few different offerings on the shelves. It said it was complete, it said it was good for them, and it said that they loved it. We bought it, we poured it out, and it wasn't that simple. And now, as we have changed our relationship with our dogs, where we recognize that they have many needs, they have many emotional needs, they have many mental needs, they have many needs in terms of their physical exercise, their mental stimulation, and they have many nutritional needs. And that a lot of what we were doing previously just isn't good for them. Can they survive? Clearly. Dogs can survive with nobody feeding them, even in a city where they're not hunting so much as they're scavenging. Dogs are scavengers, and they can and will eat anything. And sometimes, I think that's really a funny statement because it's the truth, but here we are, and we go to great lengths now to make sure that our dogs get this wonderful nutrition. We make sure that it tastes good. We're very, very diligent about feeding them all the right things. We give it to them and they go, ugh, yeah, no thanks. It always makes me laugh when you think, well, here's dogs that are living in other parts of the world, or even here, who have been abandoned, and they're scrounging around in dumpsters and garbage cans or what have you, and they'll take anything they can get their hands on because they're hungry. So we can overspoil them and make them a little bit fussy. And ALDs do get that trait, and that's from way back, years and years, generations ago, when with the poodle as one of the foundation breeds for ALDs. Whereas you have labs, who of course are the complete opposite with poodles. Labs usually like to inhale their food before you even get the dish on the ground. So it's kind of funny that way, but why we feed the dogs raw food is because that's what dogs eat. It would be similar to, let's say there were people on Mars, and all of us, the Earth was taken over by aliens, and we became pets to the aliens, similar to how our dogs are, and they gave us a bowl of cereal every day and a Big Mac for dinner. And then they wondered why we were, not healthy, why we had problems with our weight, why we had all sorts of issues with our teeth and other diseases, and that our lifespan was very much shortened. And that's the basic difference between feeding on highly processed kibble food and a natural source of food. Dogs eat raw meat. That's what they eat. They are not designed to eat cereals. They're not designed to eat starch. They're not designed even really to eat fruits and vegetables, although we give those to them now. And the reason why we add the fruits and vegetables in is because it doesn't do them any harm, unless you feed them an overabundance of starchy vegetables. We certainly don't feed dogs potatoes. Sweet potatoes, yeah, okay, in very small quantities, those are not too bad, but we don't want to be feeding them the potato, like a baked potato or something like that, because that's all starch. It's all carbohydrates. Dogs do not need carbohydrates. Think of it as like a keto diet is what they can eat. They need a lot more fat than we do. They also eat organ meats, which we tend to not eat in our diet anymore in a North American culture. When I was a kid, my grandma still made a lot of organ foods. She made stuffed heart, we had liver, she made steak and kidney pie, things like that. As time has evolved, we have moved away as people from eating those organ foods. But dogs still need to eat them. So they do eat spleen and kidney and heart and liver in particular. All those things are important to have in their diet. So the fruits and vegetables are not a requirement, but they do give them some bonuses, and it's a really good way to get some of the micronutrients into their diet. As time's gone on as well, our soils have become depleted and they don't have as many nutrients in them anymore. Reynold, can you pass me Silver Color Girl, please? She's just sleeping out of the camera and I can't quite reach her. Our soil doesn't have as many nutrients in it anymore, so the fruits and vegetables also help to, thank you, make up for that shortfall in our soils and counteract the many pesticides and other things we use to increase production levels. So we have evolved with feeding dogs tremendously when we feed them raw food from the time when I first started doing it back in 1981. Now we have pre-made raws that are properly balanced. They go through vigorous testing with labs and nutritionists and make sure that the balances are all correct. And we end up having dogs who are now starting to become healthier. We see less incidence of cancer and other diseases that tend to be associated with eating a highly processed diet. And one thing you might not know is when you buy a bag of kibble, the cost for the manufacturer, the cost of the bag is the biggest cost. The lowest cost is the food. And the reason why the bag is so expensive is the bag is all coated and made with special chemicals that allow the kibble to have a long shelf life and not for the fats that are in there to not go rancid. Some of the worst foods you can feed your dog are the veterinary diet foods. Those have more synthetics and more things that dogs should not be eating than even kibbles that you can buy in the pet store. Are there good kibbles? Not really. Is there any reason to feed your dog kibble? Not really. But what are we going to do if we travel? What if we're going to a hotel? We can't take a whole block of frozen raw food with us. Of course not. Great evolution of dog food that's happened in the last just 5-ish years is freeze-dried food. This is such a bonus for everyone. It's a much smaller product. It is as equally as good for your dog as frozen raw is. It's very easy to transport. It doesn't require any special storage. And for feeding it to your dogs, all you need to do is scoop it out of the bag, add some water, stir, and voila, you've got a wonderful meal for your dogs. Now, talking about safety, how come dogs don't get sick when they eat raw food? If you've ever seen your dog, let's say you're at the beach and there's a dead fish, and that fish has been dead, we're going to say for 5 days. It's rotting, it's stinking to high heaven. What's the first thing your dog is going to do? Well, they're going to roll in it and then they're going to eat it. And do they get sick? Almost never. If you have a kibble-fed dog, yeah, they'll probably get some soft stool or even diarrhea because their system has been so altered by eating processed food. If you have a raw food dog, probably nothing's going to happen. They may spit it up a bit later. They may have a bit of a loose stool. But dogs can eat what to us is rotten. They can eat things we can't eat. Their gut is very acidic and designed to be able to deal with a really high bacteria load. So that's why their food doesn't bother them in the least, or when they go and eat something yucky, that, to us yucky, to them it's like, oh wow, this is great. You probably all know some dog that eats poop, and you think, oh my gosh, isn't that going to make them sick? It's actually the opposite. We have one of our dogs who eats poop, and that's Peanut. She is a big poop eater. And she has the best immune system out of every single one of our dogs. A couple of years ago, we had a run of kennel cough go through here. We had a dog come to our home that was infected. At that time, she was still asymptomatic, so nobody knew. We had 4 litters of puppies. Puppies usually have a mortality rate of 20% if they get kennel cough when they're very young. Everybody got it except for Peanut. And I didn't know why Peanut didn't get it. And please remember, none of our dogs are vaccinated for kennel cough because it's not really that useful. So nobody was vaccinated, and only Peanut didn't get it. And I was commenting to my vet that I thought it was odd that Peanut didn't get sick. And he kind of laughed at me and he said, well, you know why, Claire? And I said, no, why? And he said, because she eats poop all the time. She has an immune system that's better than anybody else's. So that's how dogs differ from us. If we ate poop, we'd be really sick, obviously. It's not something that we do as people. But for dogs, it's totally fine. So their systems vary from ours greatly, and they can handle a totally different level of bacteria load than people. Is raw food dangerous for people? Is it going to make you sick? Not at all. We all handle raw food all the time. And if you're like me and love sushi, well, you're eating raw food as well. And we do not get sick. Of course, we're careful. If we're cooking with raw chicken and we're cutting it up on our cutting board, we are careful to cook the chicken before we eat it, because we wouldn't be able to consume raw chicken and not get sick. And we wash our tools and our cutting board in warm, soapy water. It's exactly the same if you're handling raw dog food. It's going to go into your dog's dish. I suggest that you have a whole set of utensils just for your dogs. They have their own bowls, they have their own fork, spoon that you're going to use for mixing their food up, and they have their own cutting board. Buy one that's bright red so it's clear that this is the dog's cutting board. Everything can go in your dishwasher to be sterilized, or you can wash it in hot soapy water. And after you've touched it, after you've touched their raw food, wash your hands. Simple as that. After you have made chicken for dinner, what do? You wash your hands. It's very easy. There's nothing about it. Can your dog kiss you and lick you afterwards? Yes, they can. Will you get sick? I have not known anybody yet who has ever gotten sick. Certainly they kiss me and Reynolds and Taylor all the time, and we do not get sick. So their food, when it's frozen, has 0 bacteria in it. They have higher rules for no bacteria in their food inspection than human food does. So their food is actually has less bacteria than ours. But if you're still worried about it, if it still concerns you, or if you are planning on having your dog become a service dog or a certified therapy dog, and many of our dogs are in those roles, then you can use a freeze-dried diet. Freeze-drying also kills all the bacteria. The frozen raw goes through a process called high process pasteurization, HPP, and that does eliminate all the bacteria. But there's a lot of people who are not well educated on raw food for dogs. They still get worried, they still get anxious, and they don't understand the process. But when you tell them it's freeze-dried, for some reason that's easier for people to understand, and they accept that that food has no bacteria in it. It doesn't become raw again after it's been freeze-dried, even when you rehydrate it. So the food is very safe. The freeze-dried makes it really simple. Is there one that's better than the other? They're equal, if you ask me. What do we feed? We feed a combination. So your puppy will be used to both. Some dogs prefer one over the other. Some dogs sometimes just don't like freeze-dried at all or frozen at all. So you do feed the dog who is in front of you, of course. But generally speaking, what we find is the best thing is you alternate. We like to alternate manufacturers, and we like to alternate the format the food is in. We even have some gently cooked food. This is not appropriate for dogs until they're over a year, but it is a perfectly good option here and there just to change it up for your dog. Because just like they need a proper nutritious food that's well balanced, they get bored. They don't want to eat the same thing over and over and over and over. And sometimes you'll have one that has a particular dislike. Sometimes we have a dog who says, yeah, no, I do not like who knows what. Let's say chicken. They all like chicken, so we'll pick chicken. Then you just have to work around that. It's very important for the first year that at least 50% of their proteins are red meat. After that, you can make it a little less, but you cannot just feed your dog chicken, turkey, fish. They cannot survive. You can't feed them just fish. For instance, if your dog was on some type of special diet for some reason, they need to have all the different proteins. Each one has a different micronutrient makeup in it, and that's important that each of those things are available to your puppy so they have access to all the vitamins they need. Do you need to give them a supplement? Well, you definitely don't need to give them any multivitamins or anything like that. What you only need is an omega-3 fish oil, as our foods are notoriously short of omega-3s, but are high in omega-6s, and a pre-probiotic to help with their digestion. So that's a little story about why we feed raw. We have seen many improvements because of it. They all have better teeth, better coats, longevity. We have puppies from our very first Labradoodle litters who are going to be turning 18 in 2024. Many of them are still alive. And all of the ones who are, as far as I know, are probably eating a raw food diet. They might not all be, but most of them are. And that's how they're weaned, and that's how they get their start to it. Another advantage to a raw food diet is dogs don't get allergies or even sensitivities to food. Can they still get these things? Of course, because the environment can cause your dog to have what is called atopic dermatitis, which is when they have itchy skin. That is almost always an environmental component. Whereas if you go to the vet, who usually does not have any nutritional training, check it out, ask them. Very few vets in Canada have any nutritional training. They'll tell you, oh, it's food. And 9 times out of 10, everyone will say, oh, it's chicken. It's almost never the food, and it's almost never chicken if it is the food. It's more likely to be beef if it's going to be a protein. But generally speaking, if a dog has a food sensitivity, it'll be because they're eating a product that has grain in it. That's what causes them the most problems. So I hope that was interesting for you. If you have any questions, we'd love it if you'd ask them in the comments below. When you comment on our videos, it's really helpful for us. It allows us to keep making them for you. And if you don't have any questions about nutrition and you just want to say that you enjoyed the video, watching the puppies, or you have a question on something different, please go ahead and put those in the comments below. And if you don't have time for a comment, a thumbs up is always much appreciated. Now these guys, as I said, are not having any trouble with their eating. Now it just looks to me like little Silver Collar just got herself a mouthful of something that's making her a little bit uncomfortable there. So I'm just going to check her mouth and make sure she didn't get any little bit of the toy off of it. And nope, she's fine. I think what it was is the texture of this must have felt funny to her. You'll see we have a little bit of a pee on the floor here, but the pee pads have far more pees on them. So somebody made a boo-boo there, which we will obviously clean up in a minute. But generally speaking, they're getting the hang of going on the pee pads. These guys haven't been outside yet. It's raining today, and so this is going to be their first adventure outside. I always like to take the puppies out in the rain because some people say, oh, my dog doesn't like the rain. I think it's probably because you don't like the rain more than your puppy. Dogs pick things up from you, and obviously dogs in normal circumstances where they're not being raised by us would be in rain and snow, sun, and all sorts of things. So we always make sure we expose the puppies to the rain while they are here with us. And these guys are all going to be starting their Head Start program after your puppy family visit this weekend. The family visit for this litter is going to be a very intimate affair, as one of these puppies is going to hopefully become a breeder prospect for our breeder friends at Chilliwack Labradoodles. And so that is just 2 families coming to the visit. There we go, Silver Collar girl. Yay, good girl, good girl. She peed right on the pee pad, just like what we want her to do. You can see she also pooped over there. And although we don't usually show pictures of poop, Reynolds, if you don't mind showing that picture of poop, you'll see how very small and how very hard it is. This is what you get from a raw fed dog. You get a very nice, solid, tiny, compact bit of feces. Very easy to pick up, very easy to manage, far less than a dog who's fed a processed food, and it also doesn't have much odor. It still smells, don't get me wrong, but far less than if a puppy had just pooped and was eating kibble, we would have a big pile there and it would be very stinky. So that's our video for today. We're really looking forward to seeing you on Saturday. It's going to be lots of fun, lots of opportunity to spend lots of time with the puppies, with just 2 families and three puppies here. And our one family, Anne and Kelly, this is their second Van Isle Labradoodle puppy. So it's going to be really fun. Of course, one of the main things when we allocate puppies will be picking the puppy who suits their existing puppy best of all. So please don't forget to comment below or give us a thumbs up. We hope you're subscribed to our channel, and we hope you enjoyed today's video, and we will see you in a couple of weeks when we do our allocation video. Thanks so much for watching. I love you.